Never did I imagine I would stand at my own bedroom door, heart racing, caught between desire and doubt. Not because I had misplaced my keys. Not because I had let anything slip away. Yet I hesitated, my heart racing at the thought of what, or who awaited me beyond that threshold. That night I stood there, heart racing, caught in a moment I knew I shouldn't be in. My fingers brushed against the doorknob. A moment suspended in time. Heart racing with the thrill of what lay beyond. My heart raced, each beat a desperate whisper that seemed to reverberate through the silence of the hallway. What about the silence that envelopes me? It was heavy with unspoken words. A silence so heavy it wraps around you, amplifying every unspoken thought, every hidden longing. Little did I know my world was on the brink of transformation. No warning, just a fleeting glance that ignited a spark. A moment stolen in the shadows where hearts dared to dance. The thrill of the unknown lingered. A secret whispered between them, heavy with unspoken desires. Not a second to brace myself. Only a fleeting moment. A fleeting moment of a secret I was never meant to uncover. It all began with a glimpse of Thomas. A moment that felt both thrilling and wrong. Thomas, my stepson, was wrestling with a secret that tugged at his heart. What I saw shattered the illusions I held about our family, leaving my heart racing and my mind in turmoil. Hold on before your imagination takes flight. You have to feel this just for a moment. This story is a delicate whisper, one that trembles on the edge of what should be spoken. It's heavy with unspoken feelings. It's not sweet, and it definitely isn't easy. It's the sort of tale that tightens your heart, leaving you breathless and yearning. The kind that stirs your heart in the stillness of night, leaving you lost in thoughts that feel both thrilling and wrong. How did I end up in this tangled web of longing? Because I'm not the monster you think I am. This was never in my plans. This wasn't what I wanted. I was merely a woman, lost in a world that felt too vast, too complicated for my heart to navigate. A woman, lost in her solitude for what felt like an eternity. It slipped away, that feeling of being truly noticed, like a whisper lost in the wind. And Thomas, he noticed me. But I'm rushing into things too soon. Allow me to draw you into the past. Not to the precise moment just yet, but to the tangled emotions that brought me here. To that door where everything feels electric and wrong, yet so achingly right. That moment of doubt. That choice so heavy with longing. Have you ever stepped into a home that seems flawless from the outside, yet hides secrets within its walls? Beautifully manicured lawn, a pristine driveway, and flowers blooming on the porch. Everything looks perfect. Yet there's an unspoken tension in the air. Yet, beneath the surface, it's merely a gathering of souls wearing masks. That was where my heart belonged. A husband consumed by his endless work, who spoke to me as if we were just colleagues, who had never dared to touch me. It moved me deeply. In nearly 2 years, I found myself tallying the moments he stole glances my way each week. Eventually, I lost track of everything that mattered. And then he appeared, Thomas. 19, gentle, reserved, yet longing. He came to stay with me, escaping the shadows of his past, and everything changed between us. I held my silence, knowing it was better that way. Yet, in his eyes there lingered a spark that spoke of unspoken desires, as if he bore a weight that was too much to share. Isn't it strange how those who are lost can find each other in the shadows? Yet I held back, my heart aching with every step away. I couldn't help myself. He was forbidden to me, yet my heart raced at the thought of him. I prepared meals, tidied up, inquired about his studies, and kept my distance. Until that fateful night. That fleeting moment. When I stumbled upon a moment that was never meant for my eyes. Seeing Thomas in that intimate moment, so vulnerable and real, left me breathless. And what deepened the ache? What truly broke my heart? Did that include me? How I longed to claim I walked away and erased it from my heart. I wish I could say I faced him. There are so many words trapped in my heart, longing to escape. Yet the reality? The truth is tangled and complicated. And if you've ever felt the weight of solitude, I mean really felt it, surrounded by a crowd yet utterly unseen. If you've ever caught a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and felt like a stranger. If you've ever yearned for a fleeting touch that sent shivers down your spine, then perhaps you'll grasp how everything spiraled into the unexpected. Before I continue, if you've ever held a secret that weighed on your heart, if you've ever yearned to shout the truth but feared the consequences, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're new here, welcome to Shocking Infidelity Saga, where we unveil tales that stir your soul and challenge your beliefs about love, trust, and the depths of desire. Subscribe and become part of our passionate, heartfelt community. Here we embrace the unspoken. Let me pull you into that night, into the quiet hallway, to the door that held my breath captive, a door I hesitated to open, yet found myself crossing the threshold. I once dreamed that being a stepmom would wrap around me like a tender embrace, a gentle touch that nurtures and guides, a safe haven where love flourishes quietly, yet fiercely. But instead it felt like a fleeting moment lost in the shadows, a secret longing that could never be fulfilled. Gather the essentials, fold the clothes, send a quick message to Thomas, force a smile at dinner, where silence hangs heavy in the air. At 38, after 7 years of marriage, I once believed I had it all. But now doubt lingers in the shadows of my heart. Joseph, my husband, is everything I could have dreamed of: successful, charming, and yet, there's a part of me that aches for something more, something I can't quite grasp. He cares deeply. He provided everything I thought I wanted: a beautiful home, shiny cars, security for the future. But somewhere along the way, he forgot how to see me. It felt distant, like a whisper lost in the shadows. It feels like he's lost the way to reach me, to make me feel cherished. Conversations slip through his fingers, interrupted by the glow of his screen, and the space between us feels more like an office than a connection once so intimate. He's often away, leaving a lingering ache in my heart. Business trips, conferences, and meetings that linger into the night, where stolen glances and unspoken desires intertwine. Sometimes a message from him appears, stirring a flutter of hope and longing within me. There are moments when he just can't. But what stung the most was the silence that enveloped the house, not a tranquil calm, but a chasm of separation. The silence thickened the moment Thomas stepped inside. Thomas, just 19, the son of Joseph from a past life, carries a weight of unspoken feelings. He was never meant to be a part of our lives. He lived in his own world, dancing to a beat only he could hear, tangled in the complexities of a bond with his mother that felt both familiar and distant. Yet, an unspoken connection blossomed between them, a secret that lingered in the air, heavy with unacknowledged feelings. Before I realized it, he was carrying in boxes, transforming the guest room down the hall into something new and unexpected. At first, I was lost in a whirlwind of emotions, unsure of what to make of it all. He may not be mine, but my heart ached with a sense of duty for him. I found myself preparing more dinners, slipping little notes on the fridge, inquiring about his classes. Even when all I received was a careless shrug or a whispered, "It's fine." He was silent, yet his presence spoke volumes, a gentle respect that felt both comforting and dangerously close to something more. Yet, beneath his smile, a profound sadness lingered, as if he bore a burden far too heavy for someone so young. And every now and then I'd feel his gaze on me, a spark that felt both thrilling and unsettling, as if we were sharing a secret that lingered in the air between us. It felt as if he glimpsed the truth hidden beneath my facade. And perhaps that was what terrified me the most, for Joseph had stopped truly seeing me. Not the person I hid behind the layers of makeup and rehearsed smiles. Not the woman who still wept in the shower, tears falling like secrets she couldn't bear to share. Thomas, he spoke little, yet his quietness held a weight that Joseph's never did. "You let me in." It beckoned me closer, a whisper of temptation in the air. The house only deepened the ache in her heart. Vast, pristine, and chilling. Everything feels just right, yet there's an undeniable tension in the air. Not a moment lost in the shadows. You'd think a place like that would wrap you in warmth, but instead it felt like a haunting echo of what could never be. It felt as if we were merely actors in a delicate dance, each step carefully choreographed, too scared to reach for the raw, unfiltered truth that lay just beyond our fingertips. We gathered at the dining table, 3 chairs occupied, yet an ache lingered in the air, leaving the room hauntingly hollow. Joseph's fingers danced over his screen, heart racing with each forbidden glance between bites. Thomas averted his gaze, lost in the weight of unspoken feelings, his plate a shield against the world. "What about me?" I'd smile, knowing the weight of what we share is both beautiful and dangerous. I'd whisper sweet nothings. I'd whisper about everyone's day. And then I'd wash the dishes, the quiet heavy with unspoken words. Just like before. Sometimes I lingered at the kitchen sink, the sponge resting in my hand, gazing out the window. The world outside faded away, and in that stillness my heart whispered secrets I dared not acknowledge. I can't pinpoint the moment it changed, when Thomas went from being an unwelcome shadow to a reflection of my deepest self. Perhaps it was the softness in his voice when he whispered his gratitude after dinner, a moment shared in the shadows unnoticed by others. Or how he'd see the slightest shift in me, like a new necklace glinting or my hair falling differently, and it would make my heart race. Or maybe it was just that he noticed me, not in the way a man gazes at a woman, not yet, but in a way that pierced through the surface, revealing the fragile pieces within. It was something deeper, something that whispered in the shadows, a connection that dared not speak its name. It was something deeper, something that whispered in the shadows, a connection that felt both thrilling and wrong. It was a spark, a fleeting moment that ignited something deep within. That kind of attention, it creeps in quietly, catching you off guard. It leaves you yearning for what you've lost, aching to experience that thrill once more. One night, I returned home sooner than I had planned. It happened in a moment, unexpected and electric. My meeting fell through, and once more Joseph was miles away. I recall driving up, the darkness enveloping everything, save for that warm, inviting glow spilling from Thomas's window above. The house seemed to linger in a moment, as if it were caught in a secret pause, waiting for something forbidden to unfold. I eased the front door open, my heart racing, as if the very air inside held secrets I dared not disturb. Perhaps I longed to keep my return a secret, hidden in the shadows of my heart. I'm lost in this whirlwind of feelings. The floors whispered secrets beneath my heels, a sound that echoed the thrill of being somewhere I shouldn't. The living room held its breath, a stillness that whispered secrets of what once was. The sink is empty, a quiet promise lingering in the air. The TV sat silent, a void echoing between us. Just that soft hum of silence, the kind that wraps around you like a secret, holding its breath as if it knows what you dare not say. I climbed the stairs, my heart racing at the thought that Thomas might be lost in his studies or dreaming, the light casting a warm glow around him. But as I reached the landing, a whisper of something caught my ear. Not a melody. Silence hangs heavy between us. Something tender, pulsing, whispered. My heart raced. I convinced myself that crossing that line would only lead to heartache. I urged myself to move on, yet an invisible force held me in place. The door stood ajar, a whisper of possibility lingering in the air. Just a whisper. Just enough for a hint of that warm glow to escape into the shadows of the hallway. Just enough for me to catch the whispers meant to stay hidden. And just enough for my heart to feel. I never meant to intrude. I never expected to find you. But my heart recognized it before my mind could comprehend. He lay on his bed, body tense with longing, fingers tracing secret paths beneath the covers. The glow of his laptop screen cast a pale light on his face, revealing a mix of longing and secrecy. In that fleeting instant, the air slipped away from me. It wasn't about his actions. It flickered to life before me. A moment I believed was gone forever. It took a moment to sink in, the weight of the past lingering in the air. A video I had almost buried in my heart. Joseph and I, lost in a moment from years past. One of those secret moments we captured during a fleeting night of desire. Back when everything felt electric. I had completely forgotten where we hid it away. I believed it had faded away forever. But there it was, a spark that felt both thrilling and wrong. And Thomas was captivated by it. His gaze lingered, electric and unspoken, igniting a fire within me that felt both thrilling and wrong. Silence enveloped me, a heavy weight in the air. Heart racing, I stood there, unable to move. A part of me ached to rush in, to seize the laptop and unleash my frustration. Another part, the part one tried to hide, remained frozen in place. I stepped back, heart racing. My breath hitched, hands trembling with a mix of fear and longing. The hallway closed in around them, the air heavy with unspoken words. I slipped into my room, closing the door softly, as if retreating into a hidden world where secrets lingered in the shadows. And then I just stood there, lost in a whirlwind of unspoken feelings. Throat tight, pulse quickening. I felt a whirlwind of emotions, disgust, violation, confusion. But beneath it all, there was a flicker of something forbidden. Something that stirred my heart in ways I never expected. There was a name I dared not speak, for the true agony lay not in Thomas's gaze upon me, The worst part was the ache it left in my heart. Not afraid, not turned away, but noticed, desired. And I loathed myself for it. I perched on the edge of my bed, trembling, my heart racing as I struggled to grasp what had just happened. Why that video of all things? How could he have discovered it? Did he realize I was watching him? Did he want me to know? I convinced myself it was just a chance encounter, that he had merely stumbled upon it, that it held no significance. Yet, in the depths of my heart, I understood the truth. His gaze lingered on me, tender and inquisitive, as if I were more than just the woman who married his father. Clad in a soft robe, I lay atop the covers, heart racing, eyes fixed on the ceiling, haunted by the memory that refused to fade. It wasn't merely the sight before me. It was the rush of emotions, a sudden change in the air that whispered of something deeper. Despite my efforts to convince myself it was merely a fleeting moment, deep down, I understood it marked the start of something more profound. The next morning I wore a mask of indifference, hiding the storm of emotions that churned within me. I smiled, poured the coffee, and hesitated before asking Thomas if he wanted toast, the air thick with unspoken words between us. He whispered yes, as if it were a secret meant only for us. Quietly intense, as if the world around them faded away, leaving only the unspoken tension between them. But everything felt different now, as if the world had shifted beneath us. As I sat across from him at the kitchen table, the steam curling from my cup mirrored the tension in the air, twisting my stomach with every fleeting moment. He held my gaze just long enough to send a shiver down my spine, yet he never truly reached for it. She sat there, heart racing, stealing glances that felt both thrilling and wrong, as the world around them faded into a hush. Perhaps it was the uncertainty that deepened the ache in her heart. Did he realize I was watching? Did he feel a pang of guilt? Did he want me to know? Or was it truly a moment of weakness? Is it just a cruel twist of fate? All day I fought to erase it from my mind. I found myself tidying up the corners of my life, dusting off memories and reshuffling the stories that held too much weight. Each small task felt like a distraction, a way to avoid the ache of what could never be. Yet each time I shut my eyes, that vision flooded my mind, him gazing at me, a moment suspended in time. I convinced myself it was merely a fleeting curiosity. Perhaps he stumbled upon the video by chance. Perhaps he pressed the button without realizing the consequences. Yet as time slipped away, my heart whispered secrets I couldn't ignore. It was never that. It was fate, pulling us together in a way that felt both thrilling and wrong. It was intentional. What terrified me even more than that realization was the way I felt. Beneath the panic, the confusion, and the shame, there was an unsettling, exhilarating thrill that I couldn't ignore. I despised it. I despised myself for feeling it, yet it lingered in the shadows. This aching flutter in my chest felt like a secret had come to life. I began to see the little moments that had slipped past me, or perhaps I had chosen to overlook them all along. His gaze lingered, a spark igniting in the air between us as I reached for the item, the world around us fading into a hush. His presence in the kitchen felt electric, a silent tension hanging in the air as he watched me clean, each moment stretching into something unspoken and charged. The way his eyes lingered softly, almost as if they were tracing a line between desire and restraint. It felt as if he was uncovering parts of me that had long been hidden, a gaze that stirred something deep within. And once I felt it, there was no turning back. It felt like an eternity since someone had gazed at me with such longing. Joseph once did. In those early days of our marriage, when everything felt fresh and electric, he would sneak up behind me as I cooked, his arms encircling me, planting soft kisses on the nape of my neck. He vanished, lost in the shadows of time, somewhere between the third and fourth year. Now, when his fingers brushed against me, it felt like a fleeting secret. A gentle touch, a fleeting connection. Empty aching. The kind of touch that whispers, I shouldn't be here, but I can't help myself, so here's a fleeting moment just for us. But Thomas's glances held a depth that stirred something forbidden within me. And once I understood that, his presence consumed my thoughts, igniting a fire I knew I shouldn't feel. His presence wrapped around me like a secret, stirring something deep within before I even dared to look. His footsteps lingered, a gentle whisper in the space between us. When he spoke, his voice softened, as if he were sharing a secret meant only for my ears. And I found myself transforming as well. At first it felt innocent, a fleeting spark I tried to dismiss. I let my robe slip a little lower in the mornings, choosing tank tops that clung just right as I prepared breakfast. I swear it wasn't for him. That's what I whispered to my heart, over and over. Yet, deep down I understood that it was a lie. I found myself taking my time with every outfit, selecting fabrics that embraced my curves, each choice a silent whisper of longing. As I sensed he could be near, I hesitated by the door, my hair cascading down, skin still flushed from the warmth of the shower. I loathed myself for it, yet I couldn't bring myself to turn away. And when our eyes locked, those fleeting moments across the kitchen or down the hall, I couldn't bear to look away. I could have taken that leap, but fear held me back. Instead, I found myself yearning for it, longing for that attention, that electric energy, that warmth that had eluded me for far too long. I had nearly lost touch with that feeling. At first, it had nothing to do with Thomas. It was about me, about the rush of feeling alive once more. As if someone truly saw me for the first time. Every night as I lay down to sleep, the guilt washed over me, relentless and overwhelming, a secret I could never escape. This felt so forbidden, so achingly wrong. He was the son of the man I had promised my heart to. It didn't matter that we were never truly close, or that our time together was fleeting. Something deeper lingered between us, unspoken yet undeniable. But the line between what was right and what was wrong had completely vanished. It was a blur. A whirlwind of emotions, growing more intense and elusive with each passing moment. With each passing day, I found myself drawn nearer, captivated by a single glance at a time. It began with small gestures, seemingly pure from a distance, but when examined closely, they revealed a depth of longing that felt dangerously intoxicating. As I stumbled home, bags heavy in my grasp, a rush of warmth enveloped me, igniting a spark I never expected. My fingers trembled as I reached for the keys, but the door swung open unexpectedly, catching me off guard. Thomas didn't speak, but his touch lingered as he relieved me of the heavy bags, our fingers grazing in a fleeting moment that sent a shiver through me. It was fleeting, yet it ignited something deep within me, a spark that lingered like an unspoken question. In the silence that hung between us, he took the fragile moments and brought them into the kitchen, placing them down with a tenderness that spoke of unspoken fears, as if they might shatter at any moment. His gaze pierced through me, a moment suspended in time, and he whispered, "You don't have to bear this weight by yourself." Just 6 words, yet they changed everything. Yet they lingered, for Joseph's words had become a distant memory, lost in the silence between us. Joseph believed I would take care of it all. Stolen glances, whispered secrets, fleeting moments, longing hearts. And somehow at just 19, Thomas saw me in ways my husband never had in 7 long years. After that, everything shifted between us. They fell further in. Initially, it was nothing more than fleeting conversations in the kitchen, whispers of music, school, and books that danced between them. But then he began to probe deeper, asking me about my past, my life, the person I was before I became his father's wife. And when I spoke, he hung on every word. Not with that fleeting, half-hearted glance Joseph cast my way from behind the glow of his laptop screen. Thomas absorbed every word. His gaze locked onto mine, his responses igniting a spark that made me feel truly seen. And I found myself yearning for it, for him. One night, Joseph was away once more. As I nestled into the couch, a glass of wine cradled in my hand, the soft glow of an old movie flickered in the dim light, wrapping me in a bittersweet embrace. Thomas stepped inside, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, before sinking into the far end of the couch. We stood there, words unspoken, lost in the weight of the moment. In an instant, everything shifted. The couple on screen kissed, their lips brushing softly, filled with a yearning that felt both sweet and dangerous. A shiver ran through me. I averted my gaze from him. I couldn't resist. The air crackled with unspoken tension. A few minutes later, my fingers brushed against the remote, a simple act that felt charged with unspoken tension. They arrived together, hearts racing, caught in a moment that felt both electric and wrong. Our fingers brushed, igniting a spark that felt both thrilling and wrong. We both paused, the silence heavy with unspoken feelings. Then he withdrew his hand, leaving a lingering ache in the space between them. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice heavy with regret. I shook my head, my heart racing, but the words of acceptance remained unspoken. Couldn't because it felt wrong. And it was everything we shouldn't have wanted. After that, the touches lingered, charged with an unspoken longing. A fleeting touch as he handed me the salt, our arms brushing together in the narrow hallway, the air thick with unspoken tension. His hand lingered on the small of my back as he moved aside, a fleeting touch that sent a shiver down my spine. Little moments hard to ignore. But I fell silent, a part of me yearning for them to linger just a moment longer. I couldn't help but search for him, spending extra moments in the kitchen, wishing he'd appear, wandering the garden as twilight fell, aware he might be close behind, leaving my bedroom door just ajar. And then the whispers began. It was hidden away, a secret nestled within the pages of a book I carelessly left on the couch. Only 5 words scrawled with trembling urgency. You're so much deeper than their gaze allows. I lingered on it, my heart racing with a mix of longing and trepidation. The second arrived just days later, tucked beneath the sugar bowl on the kitchen counter. A secret waiting to be discovered. Your essence longs to be embraced, not merely acknowledged. And then another, if I could turn back time it would begin with you. Each note sent a shiver through my heart, not from remorse but from a deep yearning ache. A longing for what was never meant to be. A desire that feels so wrong yet so right. I tucked them away, concealed beneath a pile of old scarves and neglected birthday cards, where no one could find them. But I'd sneak them out under the cover of darkness, when silence wrapped around us, and read them as if they were whispers of a love I was never meant to know. One afternoon as I tidied the living room, my hand brushed against Thomas's sketchbook, sending it tumbling to the floor. I never intended to uncover it. My fingers brushed against it, a fleeting moment before I returned it to its hidden place on the shelf. But the page lay open, and there I was, sketched in pencil, delicate and intricate, perched on the edge of my bed, lost in the simple act of brushing my hair. That moment lingered in my heart. Feels like only yesterday. I had no idea he was there, hidden in the shadows, his gaze lingering on me like a secret we both dared not acknowledge. My gaze lingered on the sketch, my hand shaking with unspoken longing. He had seized a moment so tender, so unguarded. It was as if I was gazing at a reflection of a lost part of my soul, one I thought had faded away forever. Not the weary partner, not the overlooked soul, but someone who ignites longing. Was it all just a dream? Or was he beckoning a secret? I whispered to myself to keep my distance, that this was perilous, that it was forbidden, that I was flirting with flames in a place ready to ignite. Yet I couldn't bring myself to turn away. The door remained ajar, a silent invitation lingering in the air. I kept the notes close to my heart. I couldn't bring myself to erase the sketch. I pressed on, savoring each fleeting moment, knowing they were both precious and perilous. And deep down I felt the pull of what was to come. The night it happened, the sky raged with unspoken feelings. Thunder rolled low in the distance, a deep, resonant sound that stirred something hidden within. The rain pounded relentlessly, a desperate rhythm against the glass, as if longing to break through and join the world inside. Joseph was away once more, leaving a hollow ache in her chest. A conference, but it felt like so much more. In a place where the sun kisses the earth, perhaps. I never wanted to know. The house felt different, not just quiet, but alive with unspoken tension, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something forbidden to unfold. At 9 everything went dark, an instant plunge into silence and shadows. In the stillness where shadows dance and secrets linger, the rain's relentless rhythm becomes a heartbeat, echoing the unspoken longing that fills the air. I lit a few candles, their flickering flames casting shadows that danced around the living room, creating an intimate atmosphere filled with unspoken longing. The flickering light cast shadows that swayed, whispering secrets of a love that dared not speak its name. The tempest outside paled in comparison to the turmoil raging within my heart. Thomas descended the stairs, heart racing, caught in a moment that felt both thrilling and wrong. He stood there, bare skin glistening, the fabric of his sweatpants hanging low, a hint of vulnerability in the air. Water droplets clung to his damp hair, creating an intimate moment that felt both thrilling and wrong. He stopped in his tracks, candle flickering in my grasp, and a fleeting smile graced his lips. "Are you all right?" He whispered the question, his voice trembling with unspoken longing. I nodded, my heart racing as I fought to keep the shadows at bay. He was just a breath away, sitting on the floor. Our eyes locked over the flickering candlelight that danced between us. We spoke softly, the air thick with unspoken feelings. He shared how the storm took him back to childhood, hiding beneath blankets, imagining thunder as giants playing their secret game above us. I laughed, not out of amusement, but because his voice wrapped around me like a warm embrace, a fleeting reminder of what it felt like to connect, to feel alive. Then the silence enveloped us, stretching on, not uncomfortable, just heavy with unspoken feelings. His gaze pierced through me, and in that moment, I felt everything unravel. I murmured, my voice trembling with unspoken feelings, "Why that video?" His eyes widened, breath caught in his throat. His gaze held the truth before words ever left his lips. "It was the one moment I witnessed you truly cherished." Those words shattered the walls I had built, releasing emotions I had buried deep for far too long. I kept silent. I just couldn't. My gaze lingered on him, the candlelight dancing around us, wrapping the room in a cocoon of closeness, a secret world just for us. He reached out cautiously, as if my reaction might shatter the fragile moment between us. His fingers brushed against mine, sending a shiver through my heart. I stayed close, heart racing. His fingers brushed against mine, and in that moment, it felt like everything else faded away. The tempest raged, heavy with remorse, as the weight of unspoken years hung between them. It was only us, wrapped in the silence of unspoken words and stolen glances. My eyes ached with longing. The tears threatened to spill, a silent confession of my heart's turmoil. A tear fell unbidden, tracing a path down my cheek. He brushed it away with his thumb, and then there was only silence between them. Silence envelopes us, heavy and electric. Just a heartbeat. In that fleeting instant, everything that held us apart faded away. What should have been forbidden turned into a regret I longed to escape. All I recall is the warmth, the touch, the whispered breaths between us. He cradled me gently, as if I were a delicate secret, yet utterly essential to him. I released all the things I believed defined my strength, the way our bodies whispered secrets long forgotten. In that fleeting instant, fear vanished, and hesitation was a distant memory. Just give in to him, to the echoes of who I was, and the dreams of who I could have been. Afterward, we lay there, entwined in silence, the flickering candle casting shadows on our secrets. I lay there, gazing at the ceiling, my body alive with sensations, my heart laid bare and vulnerable. In that fleeting moment, I felt the world shift beneath us, and I understood that nothing would ever be the same again. There was no turning back, no way to undo what had transpired, no pretending it was just a fleeting moment, no justification that could mend the ache within. We had crossed a line that was never meant to be crossed, and in its shattering I lost a piece of myself. The morning after, my heart ached at the sight of him. I rose before dawn, cloaked in my robe, descending the stairs as if fleeing from the shadows of what had transpired. The candle flickered its last light, shadows dancing on the walls. The couch still held the imprint of our bodies, a reminder of stolen moments, while the blanket lay discarded, a testament to our fleeting embrace. Everything around me was overwhelming, as if the room was crying out in desperation. I brewed the coffee with trembling fingers, unable to take a sip, just searching for a distraction. His footsteps echoed on the stairs and my heart raced, caught between desire and fear. And when he stood in the doorway, his gaze gentle, lips slightly parted as if ready to speak, I turned my eyes elsewhere. His hopeful gaze pierced through me, and I felt the weight of his expectations. I couldn't bear the thought of him believing in a future that was never meant to be. He lingered, a breath away, but I turned my back, feigning focus on a counter that was already spotless. "Hey," he whispered softly, "can we text? I have so much to take care of today." I interrupted, my heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. My voice trembled, a fragile whisper caught in the tension of the moment. He paused, and I averted my gaze, unable to meet his eyes. "Okay," he whispered after a heartbeat, his voice laced with pain, before turning and disappearing into the shadows. I sank onto a stool, heart racing, a whirlwind of emotions churning inside me. What had I done to deserve this ache in my heart? Every part of me throbbed, not just in my body, but in a way that felt raw and exposed, as if a fragile piece of my heart had shattered, and I was desperately trying to piece it back together with trembling fingers. All day, I kept my distance from him. If I sensed him above, I remained below. As I stepped into the kitchen, I held my breath, listening for the silence that followed the fading footsteps. I convinced myself it was for his sake, but deep down I was just running away. From him, from my own heart, from the memories of our secret. As dusk settled, Joseph slipped through the door, a storm of unspoken feelings swirling in the air. His suitcase hit the floor with a heavy thud, and his voice rang out through the house, too bright, too cheerful for the moment that hung between them. It sent shivers down my spine. His lips brushed against my cheek, sending a shiver down my spine. I shivered. He felt it, that spark between them, electric and undeniable. I noticed the brief flicker of uncertainty in his smile, yet he remained silent. Instead, he inquired about the dinner I had prepared. I pushed through the motions, serving plates with a smile, but inside, everything felt different, heavy with unspoken longing. Everything felt so wrong yet so right. Thomas descended last, his steps heavy with unspoken words. He avoided my gaze, sitting across the table, his food untouched, a silent tension hanging between us. I couldn't bear to meet his gaze, so I focused on my plate, heart racing with every stolen glance. Joseph attempted to share tales of his journey, inquired about Thomas's studies, and cracked jokes that fell flat, leaving an unspoken tension lingering between them. Silence hung heavy in the air, a shared understanding that laughter was a luxury we couldn't afford. After dinner, Thomas slipped away, leaving a lingering ache in the air. Joseph's eyes pierced through me, filled with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "Is everything all right?" "Yeah," he whispered. It felt like a whirlwind, a rush that left my heart racing. So utterly drained. He held back. He never spoke it, but the air crackled with unspoken longing. He felt an unsettling tension in the air. Just a whisper of doubt, enough to ignite curiosity but not to condemn. That night, when Joseph's hand brushed against me in bed, I recoiled, whispering that I had a headache. He turned away, silence wrapping around us like a shroud, while I lay in the shadows, my heart a tempest, echoing the chaos within. The days that followed were unbearable. Thomas hardly ever said a word to me. His eyes, once a safe haven, now held a storm of confusion and a piercing ache of betrayal. I had offered him a piece of my heart, only to pull it back at the last moment. I allowed him to think there was a way in, only to close it with a heart-wrenching finality. He felt a quiet ache instead. He was anything but cold. Seeing his pain shattered my heart. I attempted to forget, yet every corner echoed our secret. The couch, the hallway, the staircase, and even the mirror in the bathroom, where I glimpsed a stranger staring back at me, lost in a whirlwind of emotions I dared not explore. I drifted through life, a mere whisper of who I once was. The weight of guilt enveloped me, yet the longing persisted, a deep yearning for something genuine, even if it danced on the edge of what was forbidden. There was no one I could confide in about this secret longing. Not my friends, not my husband, not even the person I thought I knew. I wore the scent of guilt, clinging to me like a secret, unseen by others but ever present, a reminder of what we could never fully embrace. And Thomas, he grew silent, retreating as if shielding himself from the sting of my decisions. Or perhaps he finally recognized me for who I truly was, a woman adrift in her own void, yearning for something tender, even if it seared. The morning after, my heart ached at the sight of him. I rose before dawn, cocooned in my robe, descending the stairs as if fleeing the weight of what had transpired. The candle flickered its last breath on the table, leaving behind a whisper of warmth and longing. The couch cushions held the imprint of a moment that lingered, a bittersweet reminder of what once was. The blanket we shared lay forgotten on the floor, a silent witness to our fleeting moment together. Everything around me was overwhelming, as if the room was crying out in desperation. I brewed the coffee, my hands trembling, but it sat untouched. I craved a distraction, something to fill the void. His footsteps echoed on the stairs and my heart raced, caught between longing and fear. And when he stood in the doorway, his gaze gentle, lips slightly parted as if words lingered on the edge, I turned my eyes elsewhere. The longing in his eyes was unbearable, for it whispered of possibilities that felt too dangerous to entertain. And I couldn't allow him to think that way. He lingered, a heartbeat away, but I turned my back, feigning focus on the counter that was already spotless. "Hey," he whispered softly, "can we text?" I have so much on my plate today. I interrupted, my heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. My voice trembled, a fragile whisper caught in the tension of the moment. He hesitated. My gaze stayed away from him, it was too much to bear. Okay, he whispered, his voice trembling with unspoken pain. And then he turned and left, leaving a hollow ache in her chest. I sank onto a stool, heart racing, stomach in knots. What had I done to deserve this? Every part of me throbbed, not just in body, but in a profound, raw way, as if something within had shattered, and I was desperately trying to piece it back together with trembling fingers. All day, I kept my distance from him. If I heard him upstairs, I lingered below, heart racing with the thrill of the unspoken. As I slipped into the kitchen, I held my breath, waiting for the silence to swallow the space around me. I convinced myself it was for his sake, yet deep down I was only running from him, from my own heart, from the memories of our secret moments. Later that evening, Joseph returned, his suitcase hitting the floor with a heavy thud, his voice reverberating through the empty house, stirring emotions long buried. Too ordinary, too bright. It sent shivers down my spine. His lips brushed against my cheek, sending a shiver down my spine. I shivered. He saw her, a fleeting glance that ignited something deep within. I noticed the brief flicker of uncertainty in his smile, yet he remained silent. Instead, he whispered, curious about what I had prepared for dinner. I pushed through the motions, serving plates with a smile, but inside, everything felt different, charged with an unspoken longing. Everything felt so wrong yet so right. Thomas descended last, his steps heavy with unspoken words. He averted his gaze, as if the weight of our unspoken feelings was too much to bear. He sat across the table, his plate untouched, lost in thoughts that felt too heavy to share. I couldn't bear to meet his gaze, my focus locked on the food before me, heart racing with unspoken words. Joseph hesitated, his heart racing as he spoke of his trip, each word laced with unspoken feelings and a hint of longing. I asked Thomas about school, my heart racing at the thought of what lay beneath the surface of our conversation. Shared laughter that fell flat. Silence hung heavy in the air. A shared understanding that laughter was a luxury we couldn't afford. After dinner, Thomas slipped away, leaving a lingering ache in the air. Joseph's eyes pierced through me, filled with an intensity that made my heart race. Is everything all right? Yeah, I whispered, it happened too quickly. So weary, yet my heart races with unspoken desires. He held back. He never spoke the words, but the unspoken truth lingered between us, electric and undeniable. He felt a stirring in his chest, a whisper of something unspoken, something that shouldn't be. Just a whisper of doubt, enough to ignite curiosity but not enough to condemn. That night, when Joseph's hand brushed against me in bed, I recoiled, whispering that I had a headache. He turned away, silence hanging heavy between them. I drifted into sleep, but in the darkness I found myself wide awake, gazing at the ceiling, feeling the tempest brewing within me. The days that followed were unbearable. Thomas hardly ever uttered a word to me. His eyes, once bright with warmth, now carried the weight of confusion and a hint of betrayal. I had offered him a piece of my heart, only to pull it back at the last moment. I allowed him to think there was a way in, only to close it with a heart-wrenching finality. He felt a deep ache instead. He was anything but cold. His pain pierced my heart, leaving me breathless. I attempted to forget, yet every corner echoed our secret moments. The couch, the hallway, the staircase, and even the mirror in the bathroom. Each space held a secret, a fleeting moment where I glimpsed a stranger in my own reflection. I drifted through life, a mere whisper of who I once was. The weight of guilt enveloped me, yet the longing persisted, a deep yearning for something genuine, even if it was forbidden. I felt so alone, unable to share the secret that weighed heavily on my heart. Not my friends, not my husband, not even the person I thought I knew. I wore the scent of guilt, clinging to me, unseen by others yet ever present. And Thomas, he grew silent, retreating as if shielding himself from the sting of my decisions. Or perhaps he finally recognized me for who I truly was, a woman adrift in her own void, yearning for something tender, even if it seared. This secret has stayed locked away, even from my therapist. It has nestled deep within me for ages, a hidden truth pushing against my ribs, yearning to escape. But tonight I needed to set it free, Not for forgiveness, not for redemption. Just to feel the weight of my words linger in the air. Sometimes the burden of solitude feels more suffocating than the secret we hide. I'm weary of holding this secret close to my heart. Did I cross the line with what unfolded between us? Was I merely human, yearning to be noticed, to be held, to experience something after a lifetime of emptiness? I'm uncertain. Yet there's one thing I feel deep within. It's simple to talk about choices until you're there, trembling in the hallway, your hand hovering over the doorknob, while your heart shatters for something you never knew you could feel. Have you ever found yourself in a moment where you crossed a line, knowing you could never go back? Share your thoughts. Have you ever caught your reflection and felt a pang of longing, questioning the very essence of who you've become? What would you have chosen if you were me? If this tale stirred something within you, if it caused you to stop, to feel, to recall a part of yourself long hidden, then share it. Don't let it linger in silence. Embrace this moment and pass it on to someone who may be silently shouldering their own burdens. And please subscribe to Shocking Infidelity Saga, where we unveil the hidden truths that linger in the shadows, waiting to be whispered. Because deep down we all carry secrets that tremble on the edge of our lips. Yet perhaps in the act of sharing, the heart finds its first glimmer of solace. And if you hold on to nothing else from what I revealed tonight, let this linger in your heart. Loneliness gnaws at the heart, a craving that feels both desperate and forbidden. When you push it away, when you act like it's not there, it begins to consume everything around you, even the things you know you shouldn't desire, even the moments that were never meant to be yours, even if it leads to your undoing. Don't hold back. Let your voice break through the quiet, let your heart be felt, and reach out before the stillness consumes you whole.